I take a sip of coffee. You want to talk about some Pebble?
It's Pebble.
Pebble. Just you can skip ahead if you want, but this is
I'm sorry, it's going to happen. We're talking about it.
This is happening.
Yeah,
let it happen.
We've discussed this I think twice now, but there's new information, so we got to let you know. The Pebble OS was basically restarted, if you will, with Pebble, and this is a smartwatch that existed. I don't know, 2015. I think we figured out was when they
was it or was it yeah,
something like that. Yeah, and this is a super long-lasting watch because it has e-ink displays, and back then, I mean, the processing there wasn't really much to process.
You got your push notifications that it synced up with, which actually most of the time was fine. Your text messages, things like that.
Yeah,
it was a very simple smartwatch, but
very customizable though.
It was very comfortable. It was lightweight, and the e-ink meant that it lasted 30 days. And this is 15 years ago technology.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, here we are now. 2025, and it's back officially with way better stuff going on, man. The cool part is it's the original guy. Now the company's called Core Devices, and they've announced 2 models that are releasing this year. One in July, will be shipping in July, and the other one will be in December. The cool parts are that there's a model with color e-ink, man. That is just so cool to me.
Well, that is the last model that got announced. Was a color e-ink screen.
Yep.
We had all been clamoring for it, and then that's when Fitbit, it was supposed to come out. Fitbit bought them, put no money behind it, so it fails.
Then Google pick them up.
They killed Pebble, and then Google buys Fitbit. But we do actually have to thank Google here because of their technological ADHD.
Yeah.
They just open sourced the whole Pebble OS.
Yep.
So we get it back. So now the original creator is able to use the Pebble OS and implement it on his devices. So Pebble's open source, but that's why it's not called a Pebble device, because that's owned still by Google.
Yep, it's a Core 2 Duo and a Core Time 2.
That's not going to be confusing for anybody who likes to use Intel processors from the 2000s. What kind of processor you got in there? It's a Core 2 Duo. Yeah, you got a watch in there?
This thing's probably more powerful.
It probably is. Way cooler for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So you lining up to buy one?
Well, at the cost of $149 or $225, dude, it's going to be hard to not buy one. I've got this Apple Watch that is a year and a half now old, which is still cruising nicely. It's fine. But now this being my first true smartwatch, I've learned what I actually want from it. And I believe that the Time 2 will do everything I care about.
That's what I'm thinking.
So.
I'm really still on the fence between the Core Time 2 and the Withings, because I really like an actual watch.
Dude, this seems cheaper though.
This is half the price. It's 100% cheaper.
Yeah, there are models of Withings that are about $200, but
the one I want that has the feature, because this has the heart rate model.
Yeah, and it's metal. The second one's metal. So
yeah, so for me, I think the Withings that I wanted was $400, and I think this is $225. You are right.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet, but it is lacking some features in terms of you wouldn't be able to find your phone with the
only thing. That's the only thing that I would miss.
Yeah.
That's right. The awkward transition's back, which means it can only be one thing. It's time for another episode of the Lighthouse IT Solutions Podcast. I am one of 17 hosts, but 15 did not show up today. Oh. So you are stuck with, I've got Griffin here, I've got Matt here. I think everybody else is off today. So, but I think they call off every time we record. So at this point, the people just think that there's only 2. Look, we've been covering for them long enough, Griffin. We need to expose the truth.
They need to get in here.
There's 17 of us who host this show. It's just only Griff and I are dedicated enough to bring you all the news and content that you tolerate.
You tolerate.
Look, I mean, this is like halfway down the list of podcasts I listen to.
Well, I can't be laughing like this, man. This is a somber note.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's kind of sad. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge and memorialize Skype.
You laughed during it. How can we have a moment of silence if you're going to mock it? This is a sad moment.
It's the multi-layer sarcasm. I'm sorry. So yeah, officially, man, Skype's going to be shutting down here.
I emotionally shut down after ICQ and AOL Messenger shut down.
Oh,
Like once AIM went down, like
so Skype is shutting down May 5th, 2025. Microsoft obviously owns Skype, so they've announced this, and it's pretty clear why they're doing this.
is there something that replaced it?
It's almost like something replaced it.
Years ago.
That replaced 2020 probably.
Well, no, before 2020, they just actually got people to use it in 2020.
Well, the pandemic changed how people are doing this
18 or
type of
19,
stuff.
I think, is when we saw the very first version, and it sucked.
Teams
Let's be
is what
real.
we're talking
Microsoft
about.
Teams sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the refresh of Teams was 2021, maybe, where they like changed everything and made it basically
2020
browser-based.
it got a lot of attention, and so it was getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think it was probably 21 or late 20 where we actually are like, man, this is getting cool.
Yeah, because I mean, even us, like we were using Zoom. Most people were in 2020, so yeah.
We used Teams because we got it for free, which is how most people got it.
Yeah. It comes with your M365. So.
And because I was too cheap to pay for Slack. And Teams really comes in trying to replace Slack.
Yeah. So Microsoft in 2011 though bought Skype for $8.5 billion, which was wild to hear. Honestly, I didn't realize that was such a large acquisition. But Skype was the player. I mean, it was the main, conferencing tool, or not conferencing tool, because it was really. I saw a lot of ads for it growing up that were like personalized. It was like one-on-one with your grandma kind of thing. A lot less like business focused, but
they did separate them. Well, because there was a separate.
There was Skype for Business, yeah.
Which was actually another product called Microsoft Link.
Yep.
Or Office Communicator, depending on when you got in. But Microsoft Link, I looked at it required 7 different servers in order to operate. It was definitely designed to be enterprise only.
Jeez.
But they rebranded it because it was hard to be like, well, what's Link do? So they're just like, it's Skype, but like for businesses. And then somebody at Microsoft Marketing just said, why don't we just call it Skype for Business?
Yeah.
Somebody said, I don't care. We can go the Google route and rename this 15 times before we actually settle on it.
Yeah, seriously. Well, they are honoring their Skype credits and the subscriptions and whatnot for now. But yeah, like we said, Zoom pretty much outpaced them in 2020, and Microsoft Teams has made a huge effort to basically take over the market. But yeah, this really just tells you like how important it is to innovate and change the game as you're going. Because
here's the problem: they disrupted the game so well.
Yeah.
But they also stayed true to their focus. Skype existed before Microsoft, but Microsoft obviously bought them probably mid-2000s or so, maybe early 2010s. But if you think about it, communication as we know it was revolutionized because, we talk about things like ICQ and AIM, but a lot of those weren't really user-friendly like Skype was. The other thing that Skype did, and you mentioned it, is they had calling credits. So not only could you use Skype for your audio to call.
This could be a phone.
Digital to digital. You could call somebody who didn't have Skype internationally. And so, hey, you want to call, someplace in Germany, you could.
Mm-hmm.
And what you would do is you would pay a credit out, and then Skype would place a call. The call would come as a local number through Germany, and you could set that up. I mean, that was disruptive. And then they were one of the first ones to introduce video like that as well.
Yeah.
They changed the world, but then you're all right. They kind of did nothing. And I think that's Microsoft's fault. Microsoft bought them, used it, rode the product out. They had a couple of refreshes to kind of clean it up, but it did what its job was so well that it just never inspired change from what it was. And then you start having things like Facebook have its messenger app. You have WhatsApp. You just have all these other competitors that are doing things that they're not really doing anything different. They're just integrated into your day-to-day life. And I think that's the biggest reason it's going away.
It's crazy though. I mean, it's a household name, and here we are. As of 2025, it'll be gone.
And I do believe you can use Teams personally, and it's free.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you can do the calling.
I think Windows 11 installs Teams by default now.
Yeah, there's a business version and a non-business version, and if you have them both installed, you will lose your mind.
Yeah, it's not great. So somber.
Well, I'm so glad that that's the only bad news that we have today.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, here's another one. Yeah, 23andMe declares bankruptcy, and there's some serious privacy concerns.
We had privacy concerns with 23andMe when they were open.
Yeah.
Now that they're closing, I think we have 15 times more privacy concerns.
Huge
They
amount.
have debtors to pay.
Oh, yeah. So basically, they filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy and asked the court to arrange a sale. The entire board had left in September already because of conflicts.
As you do.
With where they're going. So people just left. And there's enough funding to continue operations until a buyer's found. But what does that mean? I mean, who's going to buy it, basically, is the major concern. What's going to be done with all the data? The U.S. does prevent...
National Public Records, whatever, that other place that just hacked all of our stuff.
Yeah,
they'll buy it.
They'll buy it. The national database or whatever it was. The U.S. does prevent any use of genetic data for use in like health insurance and employment decisions and whatnot. But like that's the only laws. There are no laws in terms of, what anyone else in any other industry could do with this type of data. So it's pretty concerning. And that's the U.S. This could be done in any country.
I mean, at least it doesn't have information like your DNA. So you can't get all kinds of like personal history type information.
Oh, yep.
Find out who's related to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know anybody who's done this in your family?
I don't know if anybody in my family's done it, but I do know. Well, okay, expanded family. I think somebody did. I think they did 23andMe because the running joke was they found out that there was a bit of French in them, and I just remember my grandpa going, "My dad would have been pissed if he found out he was any bit of French." Made me laugh so hard. It's just some of those things where people say something, you're like, I bet he didn't mean anything for that moment to be memorable. But I'll be darned if it wasn't.
That for the rest of my life.
Like, here I am. This was probably 8 years ago. Yeah. He told me, he's like, my dad knew we were part French. Not that there's anything wrong with being French for our international listeners. The blog on the Hub is going to have a link to a Verge article that'll walk you through. But effectively, if you go in, you log into 23andMe, and you go into settings, there's an area where you can download the data that they have on you. And then you can also delete it, and it will remove it. It's irrevocable. Can't do anything about it. And it's if you have multiple user profiles under your account, which is apparently a thing. I've never used it. But if you have multiple user profiles, those profiles go away too.
Cool. So we discussed last time the intrusive infotainment center ads that were happening on cars, and we actually made some interesting points about why that could technically be a good thing in terms of maybe paying for your, premium connectivity of the car, things like that.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do that. Well, Roku did an interesting variant where they put...
Which I do believe we did talk about. You do have to make it interactive, but it can't be
very intrusive, especially when you're in a car like that,
Yep.
Roku took it a little bit different approach in an experimental campaign that they released to a portion, a segment of their users, where upon boot of the device, it would show an ad.
No, that's dumb. That's like when you click on a YouTube video and it shows you 16 minutes of commercials.
Like, dude, for a 5-second video I'm trying to watch? Come on.
But this is every time I have to turn my TV on.
I bought a TV without smart functionality so that I could get rid of that type
Well,
of
that's
thing.
my other thing is I also bought this TV.
Which takes forever to boot because it's loading a whole OS. And you're going to put a minute ad in front?
I hate smart TVs.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's why I bought the one I got.
Because at some point, they stop getting updates.
Yeah,
and then they become security issues.
And then they're just a brick in your house.
And so even though they functionally work fine, you have this security issue on your network.
Which is why I really liked the Nebula brand that you bought that projector for.
With our projector, because the smart TV is a module that can get replaced.
Yeah, you can upgrade, man. Pretty cool.
That's a smart way to do it.
Very smart way to do it. But Roku is not caring. They're putting ads right before the home screen even loads, man. This obviously caused a whole bunch of user backlash, and people were, obviously upset, threatening to switch competitors and whatnot. So Roku just took it back. They framed it as a test. I don't know if that is actually what they were doing.
Yeah. Hey, you know what we should do? We should try this out and see if people get ticked.
Pretty much.
They got ticked. All right. It was a test.
Yeah. So pulled it off. They're saying they're not going to do that again. But who's to say if that's true or not, or if another person's gonna, or another company will try to do that on theirs, So like imagine Apple doing that. They definitely put ads on, like little blocks.
So
in
like when
dashboard.
you hover over an app on the Apple TV, the appliance, that app can show you an ad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really an ad. It's content they want you to click in and watch.
But it's not locking the device before it fully gets booted, so you have to watch an ad.
I'm not watching an advertisement for Peacock, which is a service I don't even own kind of thing.
Yeah.
About why I should subscribe to Peacock. It's, hey, tune into Netflix for this new show.
Yeah. I would be interested to see if they did it in a way where they knew that it was going to take this long to boot up, so then they preload an ad before it shuts down or something, and then I wonder if there's a cool way to do it. I guess I would be curious.
Is there a noticeable change in the boot time?
Yeah, well, in this instance, absolutely, because it booted up and then it played the ad and then it showed you the desktop.
Yeah,
so
I guess if you had a much smaller, but then that just opens you up to, you have to play the, because you have to have some presentation layer, so you have to boot up some part of the OS.
Yeah, man,
there's no win in this.
It's not good. Yeah, this is just simply one of those bad ideas. So
they were gonna try it anyway.
Yep.
Because money.
And they definitely made a few bucks. I mean, they showed ads to a bunch of people. So, all right. So I've got a wild one for you. We hinted at it earlier. Meta is trying to implement a bunch of AI bots into their apps. We actually talked about Meta including an AI chatbot for businesses that could learn about your business and react for you. Interesting thoughts. We were concerned about it.
Really mixed on it. Yeah.
It's gotten a lot weirder. So Meta is introducing more apps. So for Messenger, for example, you can create your own chatbot in Messenger for yourself to talk to, which could be useful. Not really opposed to that, but things are about to get even crazier. Meta is planning on releasing specific, a ton of bots that they're making with bios, visuals, full on, largely indistinguishable from humans to increase engagement on the platform. They're rolling out fake people on Instagram and Facebook to interact with content. And people are not going to know the difference.
But we already have this. And they're supposed to be fighting it,
dude,
not selling it.
Yeah. People are already falling for, fake videos, fake AI, whatever, fake bots, fake people. And here we are.
This is insane.
Dude, this is insane, yeah. How are they going to...
Because at this point, it's a social media platform for AI.
Yeah. This is that stupid dead internet theory where people think that AI bots are going to take over the entire internet and people aren't going to be able to use it. Well, this is actually happening. I thought
Facebook is a... You know what? If you were a business and you were doing advertising, wow, we're getting 1,500 click-throughs a month, but we're not getting any brand new business, so we're just spending a lot of money. I wonder why. It's because AIs don't have lawns.
Yeah. Dude, I want to read you a segment of it. So a Meta representative outlined that the company's plan is to bring millions of AI characters into its apps, complete with profiles, bios, etc. These characters will post, comment, and engage like real people on Facebook and Instagram, and many users will likely be unaware that these are not actually real people. What? Why? To just increase your own?
What? This is... Yes.
Dude.
This is deceptive.
Yeah. That's a specific word that the guy who wrote the article used. This is not good.
What?
I know. I'm lost for words.
I don't know what to do.
They're looking to launch this type of thing later in the year. I'm hoping it doesn't get all that way. This would change the game in terms of social media because no one would be wanting to use Facebook or Instagram.
I was going to say, they cannot, somebody has to go, you understand that if you delegitimize your site, then I just have to assume everybody is an LLM AI bot.
People are releasing social media platforms right now with the sole goal to not have any sort of AI bots.
Yeah, this will delegitimize your platform.
Yeah,
if you do this, you are basically saying we're closing up shop.
Somebody just thinks this is
this is a way to. Well, what I could see it do is, it's going to make your life easier because you don't look like a jerk because you have 600 friends and you're not wishing all of them happy birthday or celebrating because the Facebook algorithm only lets you see ads.
Yeah.
How about working on that model? How about using AI to show me things that are important to my friends so that I can celebrate with them rather than using AI to show me, I don't know what your Facebook thing. I get MakerBot stuff all the time of do this little thing. It's fancy.
This is
Rage.
potentially to fuel dopamine hits for people. Like if I make a post and it gets a ton of engagement.
Well, and I think it has the risk of also the benefit, quote, benefit for businesses. It's like, oh, I use their products. It's great. Yeah. Well, once it gets figured out that some of these are fake, that's deceptive. That's lying.
Yeah. Like you said, delegitimizing the platform. Yeah, it's bad. So that's an interesting take on this whole AI bot thing. The next story I have is that a lot of open source developers are concerned about this, these AI crawlers, because they're just absolutely dominating traffic. So much so that some developers are just completely blocked specific countries, entire countries, because of this. The stat that they have is that some projects see as much as 97% of their traffic just coming from these AI companies, these AI bots crawling their apps, their websites. This just sucks. I'm just livid.
It incredibly so.
Yeah.
It's also going to hurt the web because, right? Yeah. I was reading a blog article recently that just talked about, there's a thing of like we have protections for denial of service apps, right? Like,
yeah, and this is basically persistent.
Well, AI claims to be legitimate and it is inundating websites, and it's no longer just big guys anymore because the LLM race is becoming so aggressive,
which makes it really hard to block these crawlers because there's
getting
too
everything.
Many different variants, too many different types coming in. You can't say, oh, the Google ones or oh, the OpenAI ones.
No, because they'll change.
Yeah.
And the other issue, so then it's like, well, it's not just it's not, I'm going to say attacking, but it's not just scraping Walmart.
I mean, when you take
it's now scraping Lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at it from a denial of service attack, like you said, it is an attack.
So now who pays for these resources to be used?
Yeah.
Because now you could have 1,200 different AI sources visiting your website, and you have to pay the resources, but that's not going to convert into traffic for your site.
Which is why open source people are getting hammered with this, and they
give away things for free.
They have no defense.
There are shoestrings budgets. I know the open source project GNOME, which makes a desktop interface for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Their version control system is getting hammered, and you pay for usage, and it's like, okay, well, we understand that we need to be scalable, but we want people who are visiting. But it's no longer people visiting. It's AI scanning their code constantly, just burning cloud resources. And you pay by the minute on these cloud resources. So here you go.
And if 97% of them are bots,
so then what happens to the legitimate traffic?
Yeah, those 3% are nothing.
We now have to gatekeep.
Yep.
That means you need to log in. More CAPTCHA freaking challenges,
which people already are resistant to doing.
So we either have to figure out a way, like we have to block these, which could be a full-time job, but this could be the end of what they call the unauthenticated web.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about giving away content, right? That sometimes there's a time and a place to gatekeep content, but we learned that sometimes the best information you can do is not to gatekeep. That does work for people. But now you have to think, well, okay, I have to trade that off with AI stealing this data.
Yep. So if it's free,
it's not a customer.
Someone can take it.
It's just going to be like, well, according to this website, blah, 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 having Copilot summarize your PDF file.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yep. Man, it's getting so scary now to the point where people are actively saying, I'm just going to give up. As an open source developer or something, I'm just going to
Now you have
stop.
to log in. In order to see our stuff, you need a free login, but people, that doesn't feel transparent. It's just frustrating because I think there is so much good that AI can do, but I do not think, because there's such a race to be the best, they don't care about anybody else. It's all about how much knowledge and accuracy you can feed in here.
Yeah.
There's no fair use on AI.
Yeah.
And they're going to work really aggressively because all of the major governments are trying to come up with regulations. Right now, it's unregulated. Now's the time where you push. You have to throw every dollar you can and be shady. But it's going to affect the internet.
These are only a few different types of ways that this is going to change industries. I mean, we just talked about the Meta thing, but this could change how algorithms work in terms of giving pricing data to specific industries, and then you have false inflation because that algorithm that all the big players are using is telling them this specific thing. And like this gets so wild so quickly, and the innovation is too quick for anybody to keep up with. And yep, here we are. Normal people aren't able to keep up. Lawmakers are certainly not going to be able to keep up.
AI is going to be a good thing for the world, but we need to figure out what the rules are.
Same with
it's like a lot of technology.
Yeah, it's when the internet started, when we started doing...
We need to put limits. It's social media. You need to put limits on yourself, on your kids. You need to establish healthy usage for this. And computers, video games, most forms, it's not just technology. It's most forms of entertainment you need to trade off because, look, you still need to be responsible, human, respectful being. But yeah, with like AI, we need to establish guidelines, and right now there aren't guidelines, there aren't rules, there aren't boundaries, there aren't regulations. And so here's the deal. These guys know that there isn't. They're going to push, because the moment there is, they give up on data. And data is what feeds these LLMs.
It's so funny with the hypocrisy of like OpenAI being upset at DeepSeek for stealing some of their model. And it's like, well, dude, OpenAI, you used everybody else's information to make your model. Like, what's it's the same thing. Like, none of these laws, none of these guides exist yet. It's nuts.
And they've got no leg to stand on because there are no regulations, which they aren't going to propose that they want. They want it for their own use, but not for others.
It's crazy.
But that's just the opinion of 2 crotchety old men and 15 people who didn't show up. So... we didn't talk about. Can I talk to you a little bit about Signal? It's a little messenger app that has become very popular all of a sudden. Okay, so what is Signal?
Encrypted messaging app. Same with iOS for the most part.
Yeah, a lot of like your WhatsApps and things like that. It's very simple. But Signal did start off solely as a highly encrypted messaging system. Now, I know that that's what I said, and it is highly encrypted. There's not really anything wrong with this, but that doesn't mean it's super secure. And the reference that I'm making for those that are probably catching on already is it is also not approved, because it is a public entity, for use by military action.
I clicked news after typing Signal, and I see what you mean.
So Signal is nothing more than iMessage, WhatsApp, or, gosh, why am I blanking now all of a sudden?
Telegram would be another one.
Telegram, there you go. That's a good one. There's a list of programs as part of, say, like your CMMC and your Department of Defense. They have guidelines on things. So technically, far and away, the conversation is, of course, what I'm referring to is that a reporter was, quote, accidentally added to a Signal chat in which several politicians were discussing a military operation.
Oof.
But it just shows you, like, nobody's paying attention. And by the way, this is not how you're supposed to have. You're supposed to use an actual, there is a government issue type conversation software that you're supposed to be using, not frickin' Signal. This is a third-party company.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to hide what you're doing from the government, I guess. But
well, it does make you wonder a little bit because, right, we made a lot of big deals about other presidential candidates who had their own email servers. But I got to say, is it any different than using a Signal chat to discuss military operations? Is this treason? Because this is leakable information. What's going to happen now? But I got the question of, like, what the heck is Signal? What is, and it's just a chat app. It's Skype, Microsoft Teams, right?
Full circle.
Full circle, right? Like, so we'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye out. And you can say this was an accident that they included this person, but that's exactly it. That is exactly the issue. Is
you shouldn't be able to do an accident.
You should not. This is not an approved. You should not be having this conversation here. The reality is that sometimes security takes a backseat to convenience. And if you ever wonder why IT people are stressed all the time, it's because people want to do things in a more convenient method. It's not that we want to make your life difficult. We don't. But we also want to make sure that you're staying safe, your company's staying safe. And it's because accidents do happen. Stupid things do happen. And this is a great example. Now, the issue with this is now a matter of national security and open ridicule, deservedly so. So we'll have to see how this plays out. We're very early for a recording for all of this happening. It just happened a handful of days ago. And so everybody's still playing the I'm innocent game. But I was getting the question of what's the deal with Signal? And the reality is this. Yes, everything is encrypted from a messaging standpoint. However, if you invite somebody into the chat, it is decrypted for them. And you can still do screenshots and you still have to make something readable on the other end. So there has to be a way to decrypt it. There is a way to decrypt it. That's what happened here. But the reality is that had they been using the proper channels, this reporter would not have been able to be added.
Yeah, no, that'd be fundamentally, you wouldn't be able to access it.
And what if Signal was hacked?
Yeah.
And you were being observed and they knew the codes to...
Mm-hmm. You have no idea. I mean,
you don't know.
This is a third party.
Remember, we talked about, was it a year or two ago, about how there's a high profile mode in iPhone where you can lock it down so it does absolutely nothing, but it won't talk to the internet, won't let it. Remember, we were talking a little bit. I forget what the actual term for it is, but the idea is for people who are high threat targets, you basically can shut down your phone from being anything other than a phone.
Yeah, we were looking into that because of government officials. So,
government officials were getting their data stolen, or high-profile celebrities getting their iCloud stuff stolen, right? So we'll have to see what the ramifications. This is not a problem with Signal. Signal tries to do things. If you were using it as an individual and a personal person, if you're using it personally, it's a fairly secure platform. However, it is not approved to be used for military operations and discussions. So you're not supposed to be using it for sensitive data, regardless of how secure or insecure it is, especially since apparently they were on their friends list with Signal, had reporters.
Gosh.
So there's several lessons to learn there. Double check your group.
Probably utilizes your existing contact list and then probably suggests people similar to Snapchat or something like that.
Could be.
So
very likely.
Yeah, but it makes it so easy to add people on accident then if that's the case.
But it's also crazy that nobody caught it.
Oh, yeah. Well, how long was that reporter in that group?
Enough to know about the operation.
I mean, literally seconds would allow you to see probably all you need.
But I don't think anybody bothered to look to see who all was added.
Yeah.
And don't you think, when you're in a group chat, don't you see...
Yeah, when somebody gets added, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in iMessage you do. So, and in Teams.
You just hit who's in this chat.
Yeah.
So.
Man.
Whew.
Well, that's good to know, though.
Yeah. So we'll keep following this. You'll probably learn more a lot faster because it is the news du jour.
We'll probably
By the
talk
time
about
you get to this might even be old news, but hey, can I go from there? All right. That does it for this episode of the Lighthouse IT Solutions podcast. As always, I encourage you to check out our Lighthouse Hub at hub.lighthousesol.com. We did a minor refresh on our website. That's kind of exciting at lighthousesol.com. Give that a check. We're doing some cool stuff. So it's not done, but we'll call it a soft launch. While you're on the hub, check out the blog. Check out our socials. You can see resources there. Get some training if you're one of the Lighthouse users. Go to lighthousesol.com/podcast. You can go straight into all of these podcasts. Maybe you missed an episode. Maybe you want to talk. We talked a little bit about 23andMe, how you can delete your data. The Verge has a step-by-step article on how to do it. We'll link you. We'll send you right there. And with that, hope you have all a great week. We'll catch you next time right here on the Lighthouse IT Solutions podcast.